All right, everyone, welcome back into another PGA DFS video. Going to be touching on the AT&T BYRON NELSON tournament. So getting into the recap of last week, it was another pretty strong week, especially for the player pool. The biggest issues were Jordan Spieth choking and really that Jason Day chip on 17 where he double bogeyed to miss the cut. And on top of that, it was a very awesome week in terms of ownership leverage. We saw kind of a lot of strange chalk. Rory ended up being pretty chalk. Cameron Young made Terrell Hatton like an easy pivot. So those were two kind of easy situations in which you could pivot from. Rory, he just wasn't as good of a play as Xander or Patrick Cantlay. If you're going to pay for someone, it would have been one of those two. Hopefully you guys ended up on Xander, who was the top play in the 9-5 model. Wyndham Clark was the winner last week. Awesome to see. Finally broke through. No shock, though. He was a player that was top 10 in the 9-5 player pool, top 15 in the 9-5 model. He's been a golfer that we've been on a ton. He was in the cash build, as well as Sanjay, who on FanDuel at least made for a great profitable week. And I know a lot of people had some really strong GPP weeks last week, courtesy of some of the value plays going off like Dylan Moo, Jimmy Walker, who top 40 wise came up clutch. They're like plus 230, both the top 40. So betting wise, pretty strong week as well. Let's go ahead and get into this week. So this week we have the AT&T BYRON NELSON Championship, which has been taking place at this tournament over the past 2 seasons, in which KH Lee has won both times. We can see the average winning score is about 26 under par, 25 under par. The average cut line is 5.5. With that being said, this is going to be the first tournament in a while in which we are going to experience a high variance event. That's kind of what has been nice about the elevated field events, is that it's been kind of easier to determine which players you have been on because we haven't had these like necessarily extremely low scoring events, which creates a lot more high variance. This week we do. And so it's going to be interesting. We do know kind of which key stats to be looking at. We can see the big difference here. It's very much a second shot golf course. We can see that with the 200 plus long iron accuracy. We can see it with the greens and regulation. We can see that with the stroke gain approach, and we can see that with the ball striking. So for me, I'm going to be focusing in on ball striking first, and then we are going to be looking at stroke gain approach, a little bit of GER, but obviously GER goes into both of those stats. Going to be looking at 200 plus a little bit as well, birdie to bogey ratio, as well as birdie or better percentage. Those are both going to be key. Obviously, if we're looking at more of a scoring track, we want to be looking at birdie or better percentage. And then also with that, we need golfers to be scoring on par 5s as well if it is going to be a scoring fest. So also going to be looking at that. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the 9-5 cheat sheet to show you guys who are the top stat fits. And just as an FYI, with Wyndham Clark last week, he was a top 10 stat fit as well. So, very much have been doing well key stat-wise. So looking at the top stat fits for this tournament, we're looking at Scotty Scheffler, Terrell Hatton, Dylan Moo popping up in there. Not too shocking. It is a little bit, but he has been playing some good golf. We're looking at Jason Day, Tom Kim, Tom Hoagie, KH Lee also popping up in there. These are the top 4 that I'm looking at. Always looking at strokes gained total and effective scoring, but also factoring in birdie or better percentage and ball striking. But once again, factoring in those other key stats as well, par 5 scoring, 200 plus, that long iron scoring, as well as a little bit of GER and stroke gained approach. Let's go ahead and get into course history. So KH Lee, yes, the top dog there. Not going to have that much great course history. The 2 players I want to call out other than KH Lee are going to be Jordan Spieth. Well, a little bit of Seamus Power, I guess, Scott Stallings as well, but I wanted to call out specifically Matt Kuchar. To me, that's huge. We do see Hideki having good course history as well. Ryan Palmer, Bremlett, Bryce Gardnett, Scotty Scheffler. So there are a bunch of players, Mark Hubbard, who do have good course history. Let's go ahead and get into top and recent form. All right, so now getting to recent form, even with that missed cut, Jason Day is still popping up in the second best recent form. Now, obviously, his made cut likelihood is going to be lower because of that missed cut last week, but it wasn't missed cut on the number. Missed cut, we're really just on a dumb play on a par 3 17. Should have played it safe. Other than that, we got Terrell Hatton, who's just really been playing some extremely good golf. Heck, Jordan Spieth, a guy that could not figure out his driver last week, still in some good recent form compared to the field. That should tell you the quality of field that we had this week. We go lower, we got something like Michael Kim popping up in there, which is pretty crazy. Got Matt Kuchar, Hideki popping up in there, Siwoo Kim, Adam Scott, been finding ways to make the cut. What I am kind of interested in is going to be some of the value plays this week, and I'll touch on that as the video progresses. Now let's go ahead and get into the specialist. So this week it is worth noting that it is a par 71 course. In the past it had played as a par 72. Now it is still going to play as a longer track and whatnot. There's only 4 water hazards, but there are 14 holes in which have water hazards in play. So it's not like there isn't any trouble. We got bank greens, Bermuda rough, and the fairways are Zayzoya. So we got kind of all the types of grass for us this week. What I am very interested in actually is going to be the location. Let's look at which golfers are the best golfers in Texas. And what I wanted to see was both Jordan and Matt Kuchar. But what's shocking to me is Tom Kim's actually popping up in there. S.H. Kim maybe. Troy Merritt as well. I know Sam Stevens and Tyson Alexander. Those are small sample size. Don't really care about those. But definitely some interesting names popping up in there. So now let's go ahead and get into the picks for this week. So going to go ahead and switch up and get into the DraftKings side of it for you guys while I read off the 9-to-5 cheat sheet. So looking at this week, this feels a lot like the Mexico Open, where the strategy was go Jon Rahm and go Tony Finau. I've kind of mentioned this a little bit, but like that combo is only 3% owned in cash and like 7% owned in GPPs. We don't exactly have that this week because there's not exactly someone along with Scottie Scheffler that we absolutely need to be going out of our way to play. But Scottie Scheffler is by far the best play on the board this week. And don't get me wrong, it's still not as good of a play as Jon Rahm at the Mexico Open either, but it is still a very good play. Why is it not as good of a play? Well, Jon Rahm course history-wise finished 15th and 47th at this event the past 2 years. Maybe looking ahead to the PGA Championship, we don't really know. But key stat-wise, guys, he ranks top 4 better in all the 4 key stats that we're looking at this week. And like looking at his worst data point for the week, it's literally going to be that finish 2 years ago at this tournament. Everything else is basically top 10 or better. He's the best specialist, best stat fit, best in recent form, ranking out as the top pick in the 9-to-5 model. We're going to try to find ways to fit him into our builds because that should be the correct move to go with this week. From there, I do think Tyrrell Hatton's just kind of the next easy choice. Tyrrell Hatton doesn't have any course history, but key stat-wise, second best staff in the field. Specialist-wise, 5th best specialist in the field. Recent form-wise, 3rd best in the field. Coming in as the second best pick in the 9-to-5 model. Then from there, Hideki has been playing some great golf. It's going to be difficult to ignore Hideki. Stat fit wise could be much better. That's kind of the worry, but still ranks out top 10 in the field, top 10 in course history rank, 3rd best specialist, top 10 in recent form rank as well. You know, he had that little bit of a lull in there, that Genesis Invitational, the API, and then really since then has just been playing some great golf. And he's a player that I just don't think we need to worry about. And then from there, I think it makes a lot of logical sense to go with Matt Kuchar this week. We just saw that specialist stat where he is one of the best golfers in Texas. His course history holds up to that, where he's finished 12th and 17th. Stat fit wise, a little bit of a worry as a whole, I guess I would say. That effective scoring stat, which is that 9-to-5 stat, which measures a bunch of stuff, but it's pretty much just measuring ability to make the cut, but also have a high upside finish. He ranks 53rd in the field there. So considering the price point, that's a little bit worrisome. But other than that, you know, top 20, stat fit, specialist-wise, top 10, course history-wise, top 10, recent form-wise, top 10. So overall, a good quality play there. And now dropping down into the mid-tier, there's not going to be that many players down here that I really like. Sure, Seamus Power is a fine kind of shoulder shrug play. I always mention that, where if you end up on him, you're kind of shrugging your shoulders and being sort of fine with it. I would say he's definitely more of a GPP only play. He is someone though that has had good course history. He finished 17th and 9th at this event. Not a good stat fit. That's my biggest worry, is that he's just not a good stat fit. Ranks 36 in the field, so considering price point, just someone you'd probably want to avoid. And just as a whole, given the price tag, only ranking out top 20 in the 9-to-5 model, probably just someone we're staying away from. And that's going to be true kind of for this whole range, it seems like. Like last week, this kind of 9.3 to 8.7 price point range, 8.5 price point range was a soft price point. This week, it kind of just feels like an easy, just sure, if you end up on someone like Jaeger, like you'd be fine with it. Jaeger, I think, is a fine play. Course history-wise, finished 38th at this event last year, which I think is huge. Finishing 38th at this event last year when he wasn't playing that good of golf. Now we've seen him play some really strong golf for a majority of the season, making 15 out of 18 cuts, coming in the 12th best recent form, 13th best specialist, top 20 stat fit. Like overall, price point-wise, he's fine, but it still feels like we're probably maybe doing a little bit too much by playing him. He is someone that is coming in as a top 20 play in the 9-to-5 model, though. We continue on to JJ Spawn, who at his price point, I think JJ Spawn is going to be a very good play. Someone that I do think we could potentially end up on. Recent form-wise, 3 out of 4 made cuts in a row now. Once again, it's annoying. We don't have the Zurich Classic in there for DraftKings, and we don't have the match play tournament in there for course history. If we toss that in there as well, the course history looks much better than it would appear right now. And if we see the RBC Heritage, really just one bad round, the opening round there. Still not a good finish, don't get me wrong. But he is someone who last week finished top 30. Valero Texas Open, a Texas-based event, finished top 30 there as well. Course history-wise, 38, 47. He is someone that is ranking out top 20 in the 9-to-5 model as well. Top 20 specialist, top 25 staff fit, and top 20 in recent form ranks. So price point wise, a fine play, but at the same time, still feels like we'd be pushing it a little bit too much. Then lastly, in this price point tier, these kind of all feel like GPP only plays. I would say Tom Hoge is another GPP only play. He is someone that recent form wise does leave a lot to be desired. So let's go ahead and move down into that low tier price point tier. And you guys are probably already seeing like the lineup path where it does feel like a studs and duds week. And I'll show you guys the value plays that we are getting. They are seemingly, I don't want to say just as good of plays as like the 8K, the 7K range, but considering their price, they do feel the same because they allow you to pay up for golfers that have a higher likelihood to top 10. Like the likelihood of player whatever 1 in the 8K range and player 2 in the 6K range, they're likely to make the cut is definitely smaller percentage-wise than it would be for Scotty Scheffler compared to a 9K player to top 5, if that makes sense. So the bonus points that we gain by doing that is going to be significant. So I do like a decent amount of players in this price point tier. It's kind of, I don't want to say loaded, but it is pretty loaded here. And so it's going to be for you guys to decide which players you want to go with. I would say kind of the standout play in this price point range is going to be Michael Kim. I said earlier, he feels a lot like what Wyndham Clark was as a play last week. Course history wise, made cut, which that was 2 years ago. And for Michael Kim, that is saying something because he was trash. Now, Michael Kim was one of the best players on the Korn Ferry Tour last season. Took him a little bit to get going thus far this season, if we look back on his, kind of log. But that was true for a lot of Korn Ferry Tour players. Justin Suh, Stefan Jaeger, that was true for those players as well. And now we have seen him find some form. And so he's made 7 straight cuts now in the PGA Tour. He's going to be a top 25 staff fit, top 25 in specialist ranking. Recent form-wise, 6th best in the field. Overall ranking out as a top 12 play in the 9-to-5 model. Probably a little bit risky, sure, but at the same time, like considering the price, it does feel like the correct play. And then from there, it's hard to not like Dylan Wu as well. We can see the form has been solid. 21st, 15th, 39th, 16th, 58th. Really good stuff there from him. Now, he did have a miscut the Zurich Classic. We don't care about that. If we were to write that off, his recent form rank of 15th would probably be top 10. Okay, so you could kind of write that off if you wanted to. The worry is that he was terrible at this event last year. Oh well, he's coming in as a top 15 staff fit as well. He is someone where, 13 out of 16 made cuts, playing solid golf. If you end up on him, I'm okay with that. Like, I definitely wouldn't talk you out of it. That's going to be the theme, honestly, this week, is that there are players who we're avoiding, and then players, if we end up on, I'm happy with. And then from there, Mark Hubbard, price-wise as well, was a little bit shocking to me. For a guy that's finished 32nd and 34th at this tournament, and for a guy that's coming in making a bunch of cuts in a row now, including an 11th, 18th, and 27th, like that is some good finishes considering this price. And so he is someone just really across the board is going to be a strong price point play, coming in as a top 50 specialist, top 25 in course history rank, staff fit, and recent form. He ranks 46th in the field, but considering his last 3 starts, that's going to be pretty appealing to me, especially at this price. And then lastly, we got Nate Lashley here, who finished 17th at this event last year. Okay, he has been someone that has been playing some better golf recently. We can see kind of a struggle there at the Valspar and Valero. Okay, we know that. And I'm actually curious, just a random thing I want to look at real quickly, just in general. Yeah, which golfers are the best on these easy scoring tracks? I was actually curious if Nate Lashley, or if there are any values that are popping up in that regard. Not really. It's kind of who you expect to be up there, because that's a big data point. Easy scoring tracks, who are the top scorers? Maybe Adam Hadwin could be someone we're getting on, but that just echoes the point of Scotty, just a really strong play this week. All right, let's get back into Nate Lashley. So yeah, I was wondering if he would pop up in there. He's not, but still 3 straight make cuts in a row. That's obviously going to be appealing there. Now let's go ahead and we'll drop down into that value tier. So like I said, this value tier is going to be loaded with quality plays. We got Bryce Garnett to start out with, guys. Bryce Garnett has been playing some strong golf, and I was a little bit shocked at this price. He has finished 15th and 47th at this event over the past 2 seasons, which obviously really strong course history there. Like to see that. Form-wise, 33rd, 60th, 8th, miscut, which Bryce Garnett, he's going to have some miscuts, 48th, 55th, and a bunch of miscuts mixed in there as well. But the fact is that lately he has been playing some better golf. And so for a golfer at 6.9, we could do much worse. And this is kind of echoing what I was saying earlier. It's like Bryce Garnett is a better play than some of those players priced above him. He's coming in as a top 40 play in the 9-to-5 mile this week. And then from there, I feel like everyone that's watching this video probably already knows the next few players I'm going to mention, because they have been players that you have been rostering a ton. I hope, at least. So Sean O'Haire is going to be one of those players. Sean O'Haire just really trunk slammed my lineups at the Mexico Open in terms of GPP upside. Ended up being a week that was easy to cash in just by going John Rahm, Tony Finau. Had he made the cut, it would have been awesome. Like, it was his last 4 holes. I think he finished like +6. Like, did not seem like a cut sweat up until like the last 6 or whatever holes. So for a majority of that tournament, had been playing some pretty good golf. And if we maybe just write that off, like, I'm not saying we should do that, but like one bad round there, miscut, a bad round at the Puerto Rico Open, bad round there. Like, a lot of these golfers down here, another bad round. A lot of these golfers down here, it's all about really when the bad round occurs. If it can occur in round 3 or 4 and we can get a made cut out of Sean O'Hair at 6.7, I would take that. 2 years ago, he made the cut at this tournament, finishing 40th. And actually across the board, specialist-wise, 36th best in the field. Course history-wise, with the one start, 25th in the field, 52nd best at fit, which price-wise considered not terrible. And then you look at recent form-wise, 35th in the field. So pretty good stuff there. And if you were to throw in the Zurich Classic result, there's a top 10 mixed in there as well. So pretty good results there out of Sean O'Hair. But there are plenty of other good value plays this week. Aaron Baddeley clutched up for a made cut for us at the Mexico Open. Now, he had a miscut this event 2 years ago, and overall not the best play, only ranking out 44th in the 95 mile, but still that looks like someone that should give us a good chance at a made cut. Kevin Chappell's a decent value play, but let's talk about the other two that I want to touch on. We got Goya here, who Goya has been someone we've been rostering a decent amount recently, okay? His recent starts, 60th at the Mexico Open, and really just fell apart in round 3. You take out that, once again, like, one bad round typically for these guys down here. It's more or less when it occurs. For Goya, thankfully, it's mostly been in round 3 across the board. His miscut at the Valspar became because he had a bad round in the second round. He has been someone that just has been playing solid golf. I do not get this price point. He ranks out 33rd in specialist ranking, 58th stat fit, which price-wise, great. 43rd best in recent form. Overall ranking out as a top 40 play in the 95 mile. Like, you could do much worse than Goya. And so if we are going Scottie Scheffler, maybe Matt Kuchar, a little bit of risk there with Matt Kuchar, and even Michael Kim, don't get me wrong, but if one of these value plays that we're going to be on, and the next one as well, it's like literally the exact same as the Mexico Open, we got Trevor here, who Trevor's been producing some good results. I don't really get this price of him as well, kind of just like at the Mexico Open. 6.3 for a guy that, look at this, 11 out of 16 make cuts on the PGA Tour thus far this season, and he ranks out 40th in recent form right now. He's only ranking out 50th in the 95 miles, so not a lock and load, but price considered, if we can get 2 players like this that are clearly underpriced, like, they're not likely to make the cut, don't get me wrong, but price considered, like, if we can get a make cut out of one of these 2 players, then our build is going to be looking pretty good. And now we have 8.7 left over to maybe toss in whoever we want. That dreaded range for the price. Maybe we go Jaeger there. I guess I'd be fine with that. What I would probably want to do is maybe go up to Hatton if we can. Let's see, or maybe Hideki, 7.9. I kind of like that a little bit better because then we could maybe just go with maybe Dylan Wu. And in that regard, we could probably afford Hatton. And that's kind of the weird part, right? Maybe we could go up from Kim. And if you guys used the first look build last week, yeah, another successful week, so pat yourself on the back for taking the advice. Congrats on the good week. It's just a weird week in which it's almost like you can be left with too much salary this week. That's kind of my worry. I actually like Hubbard and Kim. Let's see if we can fit them in there. Kim, yeah, I mean, you don't even have to play those values. Like, you could definitely pay up. That's kind of what I'm looking at. Obviously, you guys could afford to pay up for whoever you want. Let's go ahead and get into the core plays for this week. Now, I would almost argue Scottie Scheffler is probably a little bit underpriced considering the field that we have. Kind of like John Rahm, where I was saying at the Mexico Open should be like 12.5. I would argue Scottie Scheffler probably should be $300 more expensive. Strong course history. Like I said, like that is his start at this tournament 2 years ago is his only data point in which only gives us some pause. I would say maybe the week before a major as well, maybe not mentally there, but Scottie Scheffler has proven time in and time out that doesn't really matter too much for him. Across the board, just an elite play. He's someone we can easily afford to fit into our builds, and I think that we should be doing that. And then from there, I do really like Matt Kuchar, just given his results on Texas-based courses. He just loves playing in Texas. And then you look at what he's been able to do course history-wise, that echoes that. 12th and 17th. And if you look at the specialist ranking as well, 8th best there, that also echoes that. The only worry, I guess, would be, recent form as a whole, not elite, but we have seen some top 10 upside in there and mostly just top 25. I think we're expecting a top 20 finish out of him. Stat fit-wise, could be a little bit better, only ranking out 16th in the field. And then it does kind of feel wrong, but at the same time, I do think Michael Kim is someone that we should be treating as a core play. Made the cut this event 2 years ago. Pretty good stat fit as a whole. Only one pause for concern. That's going to be his birdie or better percentage, but he has been someone that has been playing much better as of recent. Overall, recent form-wise, top 10 in the field, coming in as the top 12 play in the 9 to 5 mile. Again, considering the price point, I think he's kind of just a play that we need to go ahead and make. And then in terms of players that I trust, that's kind of it. Like I would say Terrell Hatton, Hideki are going to be players that I really like as well. It really depends on the ownership. I did just want to call out Tom Kim here as well because he is someone I kind of didn't mention in passing. I think he's a fine play as well. You can see he's the third best pick in the 9-5 mile. This would be an event where I wouldn't be shocked to see him win. Not exactly a core play. This is going to be an ownership week, I would say as well. Kind of just playing the lowest owned between some of those players in that high price point range. I also like Stefan Jaeger, Mark Hubbard, and then obviously those two value plays that I mentioned earlier. All right, but that's going to be all for this week's video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to give a like and subscribe. I know you guys have been able to cash thus far this season. Let's keep it up. Good luck to you this week. And as always, let's keep cashing. Oh, if you guys want to join 9-5, get the best value in PGA DFS, guys. The tools have been just dominating. Last week was just like the cherry on top. The 3-ball bets were dominating. The showdown coverage was just pretty easy. I'm literally just generated lineups and cash 3 out of 4 times. And obviously just been on this insanely good run thus far this season, really for the past 3.5 months now. Hopefully you guys have been able to take advantage of that. Gives you all the access to that information is available on 9-5 Sports for $10. All right, let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.